taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Augmented Reality podcast for May the 12th, 2018. Kind of wishing it was the 14th today. I'm not going to lie. Someone needs to tell Bethesda to tone it down just a bit over the rest of this weekend so that I don't lose my mind. But anyway, welcome to the Augmented Reality podcast. My name is Ashenity, powered by Pure Hype as always, and I'm here as always with Obsidian. How are you this morning, sir?
Hello. It's a good week. We've got some really awesome announcements, and we also have a bunch of awesome news to talk about. So it's a good week. It's a good week.
It's been good. It's been crazy busy, but it's been good.
It's been weird, but good. Yeah.
Well, and it's been. Wow. Sorry, I just saw my mic volume was just off the charts there for a second. Yeah, so I've had a ton of stuff going on outside of YouTube and Triple S stuff. So for this to be the week where all this stuff is coming crashing in and having to make videos left and right, it's been interesting. It's been interesting.
I've told you to clear your schedule of everything in June and May. Like I don't.
Sure, I'll just tell the kids, no food until July.
Hey.
I'm sure that'll work.
That's what a slingshot and a yard full of squirrels is for, okay?
There's no squirrels in my neighborhood. Not enough trees, which is kind of sad now that I think of it. But anyway, if you're listening live this morning, please say hello to us in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments there as well. We'll read and respond to as many as we can throughout the podcast today. Super chats and questions from sponsors are guaranteed to be read out loud today, as long as they conform to basic standards of human decency. Hello, Thomas, Tiki, and James, and Max Mouse. When is the ducking video going to start, James? Well, I don't know. About 2 minutes ago? I don't know. So, we have some Cyberpunk news, some CD Projekt Red news, and then we're going to dive into all of the leaks surrounding E3. So, you'll recall a number of months ago, we had... Hello, Hexcelerate. A number of months ago, we had CD Projekt Red reported that some of their assets and info...
Sounds like a year ago. So
yeah, that was a long time ago, wasn't it? So they had a number of assets and files of Cyberpunk 2077 actually stolen, and they had so it was stolen and held for ransom, basically. Now, they just basically came out with a response, if I recall, that just said kind of, spoiler alert, this info's out there. If you don't want to have the game ruined for you, maybe don't look at it. But then apparently it, nothing really came of it, and it's come out this week that CD Projekt Red actually took some sort of action on it that they don't...
They
haven't really
substantial legal action.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I've been digging around, and so from my sources, if it's to be believed, basically the thieves had contacted a couple of people wanting to sell the info, and those people contacted CDPR and said, hey, this person's selling the info, and through that they were able to get a lawyer, several lawyers involved, track down the person and said, hey, give us the info back and sign this NDA or your butt is grass. Except they didn't use the word butt. And so apparently they quite quickly and quite strong-handedly put the smack down on that. That was really good to see. I don't know why they didn't talk about it a little bit more, because that actually is really good for the gaming community at large. Like that's a good thing for the game community at large, for the game community to say, no, we're not doing this. We're not going to do this. And we don't like you screwing around with this kind of stealing info and then shopping it around to the highest bidder. So that's because as far as I knew, it was a fair bit of assets as well. like things that somebody could have like then taken and put into another game or stuff like that. So that's a level of corporate espionage that's definitely not cool, and well, it's definitely not legal either. So yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
that's
Absolutely. It's
unless
starting
of course
to
China.
it's starting to come out now though, and
So basically, the concept behind this is like the fact that they can run with that info and say, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to stand strong, and we're not going to let this info kind of be shopped around. That's a good thing. So Ash is arguing with his daughter right now over a glass of water, which is really funny. But anyways, so info besides from that, we also have the info that they're going to be at the CDPR is going to be at the E3. This is not new news. This is pretty obvious news if you've been paying attention at all. And it has been announced by one of the chief editors from one of these websites that they're going to be talking about CDPR in a kind of like a presentation format, so like a mini presser, but it's going to be closed doors. And then the press people are going to get access to the game, to gameplay while there. And this is a pretty standard move. So when you have a new IP, you want to educate people on the experience of what's going on, of the world that's being built, of the experience that they're to be expecting, and then from there you want to take that and you want to launch that into you want to launch that into into direct gameplay, so that people have this overarching kind of concept in their head. Then they get access to the tech demo, and they're more easier to understand, or to edit out the bugs that are often quite prevalent in some of these closed door tests. They'll go, okay, well, that's a bug, that's not finished content, but hey, this here, I can now structure this in my mind, and that works really, really well from my perspective. And so that's what they do, is they give you an overarching shot, kind of a game plan. I strongly suspect that we're going to see some kind of a date announced for the release, or at least like coming in spring 2019.
yeah, I'd be very surprised if we didn't see that.
Yeah. So stuff like that allows us to get the idea of what's going on, and combine that into the gameplay that the writers and the new press get their hands on actually. So that's pretty cool.
To be a fly on the wall in that room, I tell you.
Yeah, so it's gonna be cool. What we will see is we're going to see a lot of leaks from both of those things. We're going to see, well, it's not really leaks. It'll be anything that you hear inside that room, you'll be able to repeat. And that's the way that it's designed. It's designed to be kind of small room, so that people can say, yeah, so the world is going to revolve around this kind of storyline. And here you see this, in the trailer that they've released, you can see this correlation here to here, and this is that character, and that's this character. And then that way it makes it so that the community is, for the most part, all together on that topic.
Right, kind of a controlled release of information. So that, yeah, absolutely. Well, that's fantastic. That's going to be awesome. And yeah, a lot of people in chat today hyped about E3. We absolutely are as well. And we've had quite the conversation going about it on our Discord community. We encourage you all to join that if you want to keep this conversation going after the live broadcast. You can find the link in the description below. It's a place where you can chat with us and other Triple S fans about all the things we're doing and all the things we love to talk about, meet people to game with, stay up to date.
And Ash on Discord, if you ask him on Discord, he will explain to you why the glass of water was so important to his daughter. So, anyways, let's talk Bethesda now, because we're starting to get some Bethesda questions in here, and RPG Titan has brought something very, very important up. So, RPG Titan has quoted what Pete Hines said in an Elder Scrolls Legends live stream recently. He made this statement. You don't know what Starfield is or who is producing it. So that is a that is a mislead. Not a mislead. That is throwing confusion into the systems. Bethesda Game Studios works best on projects and on games. They don't take pressure well from community. They really don't. They really don't take pressure well from the community. Not to say that they don't like pressure. It's that they take it a little bit too critically, I think, and they worry about it too much. Todd is a very calm, centered kind of person. He's not the kind of person to like get down and argue with trolls for hours and hours. So he's not like other developers that they like getting in the boxing ring, right? Todd is more like a what's that game you play on a yard with the ball and the little hammers? He's far more like that.
What you mean?
Croquet.
You mean
Croquet.
outside?
Yeah.
You expect anybody here to be able to relate to that? Just kidding.
Yes.
Just kidding. Yes, croquet. I actually quite enjoy croquet.
Yeah. So the I know lots of game developers who's that's their favorite outside game to play. But yeah, he's not a boxer. He's a croquet player. He wants to have a reasonable discussion around things, and you don't get that from the internet. So what Bethesda likes to do is Bethesda likes to have this high level of anonymity when it comes to what they're working on, what other ZeniMax studios are working on, and they like to keep things really quiet. This is why they don't actually send out the retailer information on games that are made by Bethesda Game Studios. Typically, we didn't see that with Fallout 4. They did not let any information get out about that until they released it. They were the only ones who were releasing content at that point, and that's good for them. That's the way they work. So naturally, when everybody starts like digging through trade filing information and they start going through data that is kind of does point out what's going on, the best thing that Pete can do to keep things in a realm of uncertainty is to call into question pretty much everything. And so that's why during the stream he goes, you don't know what Starfield is or who is producing it. And that's true. Technically, it could be their next mobile game, and it could have nothing to do with any of their other games. It could just be a new mobile game that they're testing to see if they can replicate the same kind of success that Fallout Shelter had without having without having a AAA RPG coming out to the PC and Xbox and PlayStation at the same time. And so that's what they want to see. That's the question that they're asking. Possibly, I'm just throwing this out there. I have no idea if that's true or not, but that's a reasonable speculation. So by mixing stuff up, he keeps everybody on their toes, and he keeps everybody thinking. Now, the other thing that they've been doing here with this Walmart release of Rage 2, basically, and we've been seeing all this footage come out, that could still quite possibly be a total red herring. They could have let out this thing. They could be putting this stuff out, and they will in fact tease their Bethesda Game Studios game, which is not Rage at all. But they could be getting a handful of cosplayers together to throw in some stuff, take some shots outside, and have everybody run around out into this new direction. And that the Rage 2 that they sent to Walmart was actually just a code name for whatever they were working on, which wasn't Rage 2. But then again, it could be Rage 2. And I've heard some general theories out there that I really don't like, is that Rage 2 has been codenamed Starfield and is the game that Bethesda Game Studios is working on, and it's just a shooter. If that's the case, well, there's a lot of people who are going to be very unhappy with that, because if you're gonna come up with yet another shooter, which they just released. Prey is a shooter with very, very few RPG elements. Why can't I think of the name of that? The last game that they did before that one was a shooter with very little RPG elements. You could even like it, what that's not something that we want as a community. And if you look at the Reddit, if you look at the forums, if you look at the Twitter, people are not liking the idea that we're going to get another shooter with no RPG elements at all this time because it's an action adventure game, and you're just going to run around shooting things, and it has absolutely nothing to do with any kind of role playing or anything, and it's just this new kind of idea that the Bethesda game studios wanted to run with for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to I feel that's going to hit a huge wall.
As Chris
Yes,
in chat
as
says,
Chris
there's
states.
going to be a riot if an RPG Titan will lead it, apparently. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that is something that is not being received well on a lot of fronts. And so, now do they have the right to try something? Will it still potentially be a really good game? Well, yeah, it is Bethesda, but I have no interest in playing anything that's associated with the Rage universe, because the Rage universe is quite flopped quite horribly. And yes, I'm a little toxic and annoyed about it, I guess, but at the same moment, it's if this is what the big reveal is going to be, and that this is their new IP. Well, yes, it's a new IP for Bethesda Studios, but it's not a new IP for ZeniMax, and ZeniMax is the publisher / owner of Bethesda.
Now,
So
what is it possible that it's being developed by somebody else, ID Software or otherwise?
I find it hard that it's being developed by ID, because they spent less. I would be very shocked, because they just put out Doom. Like, they just put out Doom.
Well, in 2016.
Yeah, that's 2 years ago. That's not even a full time to get most betas up and running. Now, if they're just announcing this game for like 2 years from now, then I guess that's okay. But again, that doesn't really make too much sense. If it's going to be a short development cycle and it's only like 3 years, or if it's coming out in the spring next year, then I guess that could work. That might be enough time. But I really don't think that's enough time to develop what should be a reasonably large world with a reasonably like the thing that Rage suffered from was an incoherent kind of like weak plot. And if they're pushing this game through in less than 2 years, and they don't have a solid writing, sorry, hiccups, and if they don't have a solid writing team, then I don't see where this is going. I don't think that helps them.
How big? Yeah. How big of a studio is ID right now, anyway?
It's like, last I heard, it was like 250, 300. So, I mean, I guess it's possible, but
Maybe it was in pre-production when. Well, I mean, again, this is all speculation. By the way, if anyone's not familiar with the root of all this, we had a massive leak, in quotes, from Walmart Canada, of all places, where a bunch of previously unannounced game titles appeared on their website, and then yesterday or the day before, somebody at Walmart responded saying this was caused by a glitch, and the game titles that appeared were speculative in nature. So if we take that at face value,
I'm sure someone is trying to convince as many people as they possibly can of that, so they don't get fired. It's a glitch. 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 Please don't fire me. It was a glitch. I didn't mean it to happen. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now you were saying, you told me just before we went live that GameStop had a recent something similar, but instead of a bunch of game titles, it was just the number of titles that they're expecting from each developer, something like that.
Yeah, so Nintendo sends out, when they send out their list, they don't send out names for the games. They send out a number of, and then sometimes categories.
Right. Okay.
And that's what I believe. Sorry, I have to find the conversation again. But that is what it was. GameStop. Yeah, GameStop.
Mm-hmm.
Their internal system has shown that they're expecting to receive, within the next 12 months, so between this year and next year, they're expected to receive 15 new Nintendo games. at a minimum. Now that's 15 new unannounced or untitled Nintendo games at this point. So
Right.
games that are on the list that have been advertised, that have been openly stated, that are arriving and they already have their like announcement or release date penned in. Those are not in that list.
Right.
So we're expecting 15 new additional games from Nintendo that they could showcase. So they're going to showcase between, I would say most likely between 10 to 15 of those.
So it makes sense that Walmart would have received something similar to that,
Yes. Yeah.
so they can say, okay, we need this many slots on our shelf for
Yes. Now,
this band. But and so this has got me thinking. Did they potentially were they just filling in game titles like?
well,
Maybe it's this, maybe
yes,
it's that.
Well, yes, this is what happens, especially in Walmart and other old retailers. So when it comes to how they run their computer systems, and I should know because I just recently was talking with somebody at a site that was handling for work, and they were showcasing me how their computer system is still a 386.
Yeah,
If
it's
you don't know
unbelievable.
what a
Some of these
386
places.
is, then yeah, be prepared. Your cell phone runs at like 10 times the strength of a 386. It's ridiculous.
Only
Your
10 times?
like your average low end, 2-year-old cell phone runs 10 times stronger than a 386 does. And his entire system ran off of that, still runs off of that, and all of the entries for their advertising is based on stuff that came out when they bought the computer. So in this case, Walmart, if they're running a system that's like 10 years old, then a list of what they do is obviously when Wolfenstein, there's the name that I was forgetting, when Wolfenstein comes out, they go Wolfenstein 2 as kind of like a holder for that name, and then they get unannounced game coming from ZeniMax Studios, featuring ID Software. Okay, what games are they well known for? So they pull up their wiki page, or the guy thinks off the top of his head, and at the time they were well known for Quake and Rage. At the time, that was really the only things that they were kind of known for at that point. Old Doom license, but nobody was expecting a new Doom. So what does he write in? Rage 2, because Rage just came out. So, and he's just setting up a catalog system so that people can enter these systems into appropriate areas so that they don't lose track of their stock. So he sits down, he writes that, and then all these years later, that is what comes out. Now that is a possibility that I'm just throwing out, that what happens when you run 10, 15-year-old computers or older and try and keep a system of inventory that is run or based off of a system that pretty much doesn't exist when you're creating it. So you're kind of guesstimating on stuff.
So as Chris says in the chat, yeah, they kind of just pull. It sounds like they kind of just pulled Rage 2 out of their asses. Although, I mean, was it an educated guess? Was it just something they threw in that happened to be correct? Or again, is it completely incorrect and Bethesda's just leapfrogging off of this as an opportunity to completely confuse us as to what they're actually working on? We are anticipating finding out on Monday because they've been tweeting out a series of cryptic images, several of which have
really
the numbers.
random ones too. At first, so this is what happened. The first image came out and it was the clock tower, and then the next one came out and it was the rocket ship. And I started running, because data analyst. So I started running comparison information on London and space rocket programs. And so I'm running through the list, and then their next one. What is their next one that comes out? It's I have it here. The next one comes out, and I think it's the intersection from Japan, from Tokyo or whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, cross-reference space program with London and Tokyo, and then their next one is of a picture from California with Anarchy Tours and this person from Rage boarding up on this thing. And at this point, I'm like, okay, well, at this point, I have no idea what they're doing.
They're
Okay,
clearly
there's no
hinting. They're
correlation.
clearly hinting at rage, but it's bizarre.
So
It's a bizarre thing
yeah,
to be doing this massive sort of lead up to Monday, because several of the images have had the numbers 514 to the point where they actually photoshopped 514 onto the rocket. We know that because one of our Discord members actually found the original image minus the pink paint minus the 514. So
hmm
they something clearly happening on 514. What's the significance of the rocket ship? Well, who knows? But on Monday, so keep an eye out on Monday for something. Something's going to drop from Bethesda Studios. We're very very certain
and
that.
we will of course talk about it like crazy. So yeah,
All right, let's look through some of these chat messages here because yeah, lots of interesting discussion going on here. Um, so Tom was there's been a lot coming out from Reset Era this past few days, and Tom is saying I'm very curious about the quote from the Reset Era forums. One of the announcements from Bethesda may cause people to fall out of their chairs. What do you guys think?
I read that, and to me, like that's so one of the announcements will cause us to fall out of our chairs. Well, okay, does that mean that they are working on something that they haven't touched in a really long time? Well, no, because they don't have anything that they haven't touched on for a really long time. Um, I checked recently, back when all the hubbub was going on, and I've been keeping the tabs on it. They have not, by any way that I have been able to confirm, made a new deal with Star Trek to do a Star Trek game. Because they, at one point, they did have access to the rights, and they were in discussions about what they were going to make, and they were going to have this big thing. But then they ultimately said no. So so yeah, basically, I guess, like, I can't think of anything that would be like, they come out and they say we're working on a game that you've never heard of before. I don't know why, like, that would be surprising, but that's also been expected for quite a few years. They've been talking about how they're going to be working on these brand new IPs. So that leads me to think, okay, if they're, what would cause me to fall out of my chair, or the rough, because I don't fall out of my chair, the rough approximation of that kind of an experience. That would be them offering an MMO based on one of their IPs. Now, obviously, they can't do it for Elder Scrolls because ZeniMax already has that, and ZeniMax is the ZeniMax studio. They are really, really controlling over pretty much everything, and you see that in the way that they sue almost everybody that they can for even the remotest infringement of what they think is their territory. And even for things that aren't their territory, they have sued, and where they can't win, they just continue to sue until the person is tired of defending themselves in a court of law, and they just settle. So I hate to say that, because a lot of people really like Bethesda, and Bethesda and Todd Howard are good, honorable people, I think, for the most part. ZeniMax,
It's the studio that owns Bethesda, by the way.
that is run by former lawyers. So just as a general reference, they have a right to do that, and they make, for the most part, good games. Now, the Elder Scrolls MMO, when it came out, was not a good game at all. It was a pile of garbage. However, they try to make good games, so at least they try their best, and they don't, like, burn anything unnecessarily if they don't have to. So we'll accept that. So that leaves, like, Fallout, and Fallout Online. They have taken that. They have they have trademarked that, and they own the websites for anything related to a Fallout Online or a Fallout MMO. But they own a lot of things like that. So that's them
Yeah, kind of
covering.
down the road
Yeah,
we
that's
might do this,
yeah, that's
or
them,
just to
at
prevent
least
other people.
protecting. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're protecting their IP. They're protecting their ownership of said product. So yeah, that's kind of where that falls in. But that would definitely make me fall out of my chair. I would not be expecting that. If it turns out they've been working with another company behind the scenes, and this has been kept super quiet, like super quiet, and the people who work on this game are living, in the center of the tundra, and they have no phone calls in or out, or and all mail is like, gulag, like, they search every single letter of every single word of every single letter that they send home to their folks, and stuff like that, like, dearest father and mother have been working on this secret project. Oh, can't say the word secret. Have been working on something for the past 10 years, and whilst whilst difficulties in living conditions are terrible here in the tundra, please send alcohol and a warm sheets, as we expect the cold to, this old, like, letters to family that you'll never see for 10 years. That would be the only thing that would make me fall out of my chair, coming from Bethesda and coming from what I know to expect from them. We know that they're hip with the new technology, with the VR, which isn't actually great on any of their games. There's nothing groundbreaking there. They're not involved in any other hardware style stuff. So, and I can't imagine them announcing a new VR system. Like, hey, VR systems are doing not really okay. In fact, the most played VR game right now is a chat room simulator. Then the hardware, no. Console, are they releasing their own console? No, of course not. Really doubt that. Like, that's not even the realm of possibility. Are they? So it's just a game. So between, I'm thinking on my feet here. So between the products that they have shipped and products that we're expecting them to ship, the only thing that would make me shocked is, again, it's not even a Bethesda Game Studios game, would be Commander Keen. That would be about it. So yeah, I really don't know.
A
At this
dark,
point,
gritty, open world first person Commander Keen game.
yeah,
That'll be, that's within realm of possibility, considering he is Keen. He is the grandson of the protagonist of the Wolfenstein series.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? It's like, just
I think it was like a
dark,
year and a
gritty.
half ago that on the podcast I was like, they should make this. They should make this like.
So imagine the scene. You get a dark, gritty Commander Keen, who's now, like, he's like 17, 18, and he's like, he's blasting aliens and using his pogo stick to jump around, and then he finally, like, opens the cell, and there's his babysitter, who's like, slumped over on the thing, just in like Star Wars, except it's a little bit more like LA noir kind of style, and she's like, "Hey, I'm finally here to save you," and she's like, "Oh my, you grew up," and he's like, "Oh, you wouldn't know that until I kissed you," and it's like, yeah, that'd be definitely a new one on me. So
Oh
I've been
man.
watching way too many 1930s detective movies recently. Well, doll, yeah. So,
Well, I think the important thing to keep in mind though is that we're expecting a ton from Bethesda this year.
oh, Thomas in the chat, you were right.
A follow.
Fallout 1 or 2 remake would make me fall out of my chair, and that is in the realm of possibility. And they have they have constantly crushed any user's attempt at making Fallout 1 or 2
Right.
remakes. Yeah.
So what about New Vegas 2 or something like that? The
New Vegas 2, they're not going to touch that one, and the primary reason why they're not touching that one is because that was an Obsidian game. It was an Obsidian game by Obsidian Entertainment is largely built off of ex Interplay developers.
Right.
Interplay is the people who originally made it. Out of the people who originally worked on Fallout 2, about, like, the vast majority of them, like more than the 50% of the staff that worked on that game are now employed at Obsidian Entertainment.
What about some other type of Fallout spin-off?
That's possible. And it would be, I think it would be received quite well. I don't think that hardcore Bethesda fans would want that because they just did a Fallout game. Their last game was a Fallout game. And what they want and what they're looking forward to is another Elder Scrolls game because it's, in their mind that's next, or a new IP altogether.
Well, it could be both. Like maybe a Fallout spin-off that's not being made by Bethesda Game Studios, and we're still expecting to see Starfield and maybe Rage 2. I mean, who knows? If Rage if they have enough
Overall,
sister studios and
yeah. Overall with Rage, I'm not. There is only one way that would be an acceptable game to me. The only way that a Rage game would be acceptable is if it came out and became Game of the Year, which they already have some amazingly high-end competition for. I'm not saying that I demand that they make a Game of the Year. I'm just saying that when
it's
that
got to
game
be
came
that
out,
caliber.
yes, it's got to be that caliber. When that game originally came out, it fell on its face. As far as story goes, as far as presentation goes, as far as technical workings goes, there's nothing hidden in the, whereas other games, especially by Bethesda, and especially games that are more RPG focused, there's tons of hidden Easter eggs as far as story and clues and information, and there's none of that in Rage. It's an action game. It's an action adventure game that you blow through really quickly. It doesn't even take that long to complete. It's not even it's not a deep game at all. If you're gonna build a brand new game and you're gonna put so much effort and work into it that it's gonna be a top contender for Game of the Year, and you want it to be this amazing experience, at this point, why go back to an 8-year-old failed game that's already had one attempt at a second remake canceled? Like, why do it? You'd rather start with a new IP or something like that. There's no point that you would want to say, yeah, you know what, we'll just shoot for the moon, and
Well,
we'll
and
just
even if they
do
are, I mean,
this.
I believe Pete Hines had said, it sold enough that it could warrant a sequel. It does have its fans.
Yeah, that's PR talk from a guy who's covering their butt. No company will say, yeah, we really failed on that. I mean, look at Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is a train wreck. And now one of the devs has finally come out and said, yeah, we really let you guys down and we're sorry. And he almost lost his job. It's not something that they say.
Fair enough. Okay, but my point with that is that even if Rage 2 is in development, it seems a bizarre choice for all of this pre-hype.
Yes. No.
It's
it
the
really
kind of thing
is.
that I feel like they would sort of slip in under the radar and, hey, maybe it's really good,
Here's the thing, and this is really important. This is really, really important. Rage is still buggy as crap. It is still a buggy game. They have never fixed the major issues, the technical issues with Rage, which you could do quite easily if you have the source code and if you can sit down and work on it. You could spend, 40 employees, give them a month and tell them to fix all the major issues in that game and offer an update for it that could at least fix it. Because what happens in today's day and age when you have a new game that's built off of an old IP? Well, people go back and they play the old one. And there's been a couple people doing this
Right.
in anticipation. I watched a handful of people who I subscribe to on YouTube, and they said, "Hey, we're going to go back and we're going to play a little bit of Rage to see what it was like back then." And it was terrible. Like, it's still crashing. It's still causing massive glitches and visual things and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, if you make this your primary top stage thing for this year, and everybody goes on, for the next 3 months before the game comes out and plays the old rage and goes, wow, this game was legitimately bad for the studio that made it. Like, I could expect this from like, a new company that doesn't have any experience, or some like smaller indie title that was attempting to make a really good game. It's forgivable if it's made by an indie studio, but this is supposedly from one of the biggest publishers and studios out there. This thing's garbage in comparison to what they should have been able to go. It's like expecting a steak at world famous bistro, and instead you get a hot dog. It's like, it might be a good hot dog, but it's not a steak.
Fair enough, yeah. So, yeah, Chris is saying Rage was mediocre at best, but had a great foundation for being a really good game. I can't comment because I haven't played it. What do you feel about that? Was there at least a foundation for something decent there?
It's I could see no solid foundation for it. I really couldn't. I really couldn't, and I don't think that would be good. My brain is shorting out. It's like I can't there. I can't think of a legitimately good reason for anybody to bother to even try to make this game as a new one. You'd rather start with a new IP than go back and use a foundation that's shaky. It's all about building. It's all about building the intellectual property. It's all about building and creating a new thing that people can connect with. And by going back onto something that has a really shaky foundation, if that's what you're building your hopes and your dreams on, especially if this is the big, Bethesda Game Studios game, I mean, not only did they lie, like horribly lie to their community, then because they've promised a new IP, that they've promised this again and again and again. Todd has stressed this. Pete has stressed this multiple times, guaranteeing they had that thing. Something new is coming in their teaser. Something new is coming for Bethesda at E3 this year. This is going to be an amazing year. Yeah, we've worked our tails off to create something new for you. It's Rage 2.
Yeah.
If that's the case, it's just horrible.
Well, and that's why I'm holding out hope that they're just
Anyways.
that they're just trolling us. That this is, yeah, that all of this is a red herring. That they're just having some fun and kind of laying the foundation to surprise the heck out of us on Monday and at E3. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, let us know what you think about that. But I'm anticipating something. Well, I'm going to be on pins and needles till Monday. Not going to lie. This whole... I haven't even checked today if there's any new pictures, but it's been an interesting week of leaks and information and various things. So, by the way, if all of those of you who are listening wouldn't mind taking a second to hit that like button, that really does help with the analytics and helps YouTube know that this is a show that you appreciate watching.
We hate e-begging. We hate e-begging. It's not something that we like to do, but there is this big attempt by YouTube right now to filter out people and to filter out channels that that is hard for them to present to people, to advertisers, supposedly. Now, I have, of course, many problems with the way that YouTube is claiming that they're in trouble and trying to design this. I think they're giving in without they don't have somebody who's good at negotiation doing it, but as far as what it comes to when it comes to the likes and stuff like that, it really, really does help if we can average if we average a between a 5 and a 15% like ratio on the videos. That is hugely different than averaging a 5 to 1%, and so that really does help. So when you do that, thank you so much. It really helps. We know it's like this thing where it's like, well, I wouldn't be here watching the video if I didn't enjoy it. But it's like, yeah, but apparently it's like the whole subscribe thing. First there was the subscribe, then there was the subscribe and bell notifications. Now it's In order to get everything, you have to hit subscribe, click on the bell, click on the options in the bell, and click, all the time. And then you actually have to go into, there's going to be another step soon where you can actually set whether or not you want them to email you all the time when it comes to other certain things on the channel. It's like, YouTube, what are you doing? Why? Why is this a thing? So anyways,
Simplicity is good. Just give us, when I sub to somebody, it's because I want to see their stuff. It's like, come on. Who is this helping? I don't get it. It doesn't seem a good system for the viewers or for the content creators. Just I don't get what they're doing, but anyway. So I tried out I was going to say Kingdom Come Deliverance. That's not the game I'm talking about. Conan Exiles. That's the one I was talking about. Tried that out last night. It was an interesting experience. Not a survival games, not typically my thing, but I had I had a decent time playing it.
Did you like the sliders?
It was bizarre to me. Did you go all the way
to the right, or did you go all the way to the left?
What was bizarre to me was how few options there actually were, and yet they decided to include overall endowment is a basic.
It was a gimmick. It was a gimmick, and it was a funny gimmick. Oh my goodness, that thing made so many videos.
There was a song about it that was hilarious. But anyway, no. As far as it's interesting, I haven't played enough of it to really get a good be able to give a good recommendation of it or not. But had fun while I was playing it, so that's what I can say. And thank you so much for all of the kind comments in the chat right now. We really appreciate that. We really appreciate all of you for supporting this show. We appreciate the fantastic conversation in the chat. As I've said many times, choosing to do this podcast live every week was one of the best decisions we've ever made. It's been great to interact with all of you as we do the podcast. Chris, did you miss the Cyberpunk 2077 discussion? I'm guessing you must have. That was right at the beginning. Why don't we quickly recap that? And
because it's always our favorite topic. So they are for sure doing a showcase at E3 for the press. It's going to be a small thing where they talk to a small room of press before those people will get a chance to actually play the demo. And this is what we brought up when the map came out for the floor layout. The fact that E3 booked 2 rooms side by side. That is very easy to have that set up so that you can have a presentation on one side and you can have people playing the game on the other side. You you do like 3 or 4 of those a day, and that's how you rotate people in and out and control the message. And this is for a new IP that people are not familiar with, for something that has a lot of lore. I mean, shout out to the Mad Queen. There is a lot of lore in this game to study. This is not a quick fire game where you can cover the basics of the lore, the world in like 15 minutes. You need 15 minutes just to set the premise, and then you can go on from there for ages. It's a humongous world. It is way bigger than The Witcher, and The Witcher has several books written about it. This is an absolutely massive undertaking. So control the message is going to be CDPR's number one goal. So you're going to have these people come in, sit down, listen to presentation, then they're going to get access to the inside. Now that the access to that is going to be, a lot of it's going to be set up by like pre-selecting people to come in, and there's going to be a very small wait in line, and you're going to have some kind of a credential for something. So yeah, it's going to be pretty impressive.
And we've been trying to get our people in on that. The channels that we're partnering with, who are sending people to there. We've been trying to get in on that. We'll let you know if we have any success there. Obviously, we'll be super hyped if we're actually able to get somebody into that room. But
they're being very selective on who they notify about this, because one of the first people that they notified, he turned around and almost immediately posted it on Twitter. Like, dude, really? So naturally they are they were a little annoyed about this. So yeah,
Just the fact that he was going to be able to gain access to that.
no, that he posted it on Twitter. Like, they're like, hey, we have this plan to do this presser. Are you interested in coming? Well, yes, I am. It's okay. Keep it on the down low.
Oh, they wanted him to not.
People.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
And he's like, yep, sure thing. 2 minutes later, hey, I just got invited to this super secret presser in which we're going to be talking about it, and I'm the first one talking about it on Twitter.
And then
it's just like,
it's like, but hey, everybody out there on the internet, keep it a secret, okay? Keep it on the down low.
yeah. So it's just mind-boggling to me. Why, like, why do these people even try? Like, at this point, why do they? Why do they? Yeah, it's just.
So the only other, not the only other news, but the other news we discussed earlier was the fact that it seems that CD Projekt Red was able to recover the assets that were stolen and held for ransom. That happened, close to a year ago now. That somebody had gained access to these things and were threatening to release it if CDPR didn't pay up. And CDPR didn't pay up and turned around and took legal action and
sent an army of lawyers.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's good. That's a good precedent to set for the industry, so that they that this doesn't happen to other companies. You know, if people see, oh, I could, wind up getting my pants sewed off if I try this kind of a thing, then that'll hopefully prevent people from doing it. But anyway, yeah, so Cyberpunk 2077 is, Chris is asking, it's like 3 decades of lore, right? Something like that.
Yeah, at the very least. It's not
a
as
very,
deep
a very in-depth class system, just so much to it. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's not as deep as, like, say, Dungeons and Dragons, but there is a lot there. Mike Pondsmith loves this, and we are going to see some pretty awesome stuff from this. And there's so much more potential to come, and there's some amazing projects that are like CD Projekt Red has thought ahead. They have really thought ahead. There are multiple additional projects en route that I can't talk about, but yeah, it's going to be a good ride if you like the old school, pen and paper kind of like D&D experience. That's what they're going for. That's what they're building into. And by the way, this is going to be just an FPS. It's going to be barely any RPG. It's going to be a super fast FPS with little to no party play or strategic play. The more I look at that data, the more I look at what we know about the game, the more I'm convinced that that's complete and total bull. That I think that it was just misunderstood or miscommunication of information, and that we were going to see that this is going to be a game that's designed for group play, party play, being in a team, and going about things in a fairly strategic manner. If it's a super fast FPS, what do you even need companions for? Like sometimes when I was playing through Mass Effect 2 and 3, it's like, what do I even need these people here for? Like, just roll a Vanguard with focus on heavy weapons and just tear stuff up. Just
what's actually
one explosive jump to the next explosive jump, and that's all you need. Like, you don't even need companions. If it's that kind of a game, then why would they be putting so much effort into making these companions what they are? And then allowing for group play, that's the other thing. It just it doesn't hold water. So
yeah,
so that's a quick recap.
All right, excellent. So
inside the podcast.
Yes, and this has been a great podcast. Thank you for all of the excellent conversation in the chat. Again, if you want to see the conversation, if you want to be continue the conversation after we're done, click the link in the description below. Join our Discord server. We'd love to see you there.
Yeah, join the Discord server because we have been talking a lot about certain things that we don't necessarily have the ability to talk about on the podcast. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of speculation, lots of talking about sources and information. If you're into that kind of thing, hop in on our Discord. It's typically down in either the Cyberpunk thread or the E3 thread, where we will discuss and talk about the latest stuff and what we're kind of what we're going over the gaming thread. Yeah, lots of discussion there, almost daily. So pretty much daily at this point.
Absolutely, yeah. We're getting new stuff. We're getting Discord members sending us info. It's fantastic, and it's great to hang out in the community there. I want to extend a special thank you to our Patreon supporters, Old Man Manson, and our 2 anonymous awesome supporters. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like and sub if you appreciate this weekly content. If you're listening on YouTube, if you're listening after the fact on SoundCloud, we thank you for your follows and likes. On iTunes, thank you for subscribing and reviewing our show. And hey, feel free to join us next Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time for the live show where you can interact with us and other listeners and be a part of the discussion. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more gaming content. My name is Asheninity, and on behalf of Cybsidian, thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Goodbye, everybody. Stay tuned for E3. It's going to be awesome.